G'day, my name's Chris. Welcome back to the shed. Welcome back to Flat Tank Journey in the Torpedo. By the time you're watching this, it's going to be Christmas Day. Merry Christmas. I hope you've had a smashing day. I decided to release this video on Christmas Day because sometimes it's a bit boring. Anyway, I hope you enjoy it. In this week's episode, I get my footrest rubbers, but they don't quite fit, and that's a bit frustrating. Start doing a bit of work mounting the rear guard to the bike and make some mudguard brackets. Also just roughly sand the guards and get them into etch primer because they're getting a bit of surface rust on them. They're looking a bit manky. Also do the same with the tank and start some work on filling and sanding the tank just to get it into good nick. Anyway, look, I hope you've had a smashing Christmas Day, or hope you do have a smashing Christmas Day wherever you're watching in the world, and that you enjoy the company of family and friends. And if that's not working out for you, hey, relax, have a good day and watch a bit of YouTube. Enjoy the video. Cheers. So my BSA Bantam footrest rubbers arrived, and you know, they kind of fit, except they're not 12mm inside like the promise said. They're more like 17. So I'll need to resolve that at some stage. But they do go over the nut, and they do fit really neatly, and they kind of look tidy. In fact, the whole thing looks tidier than I expected. Sometimes when I've made things, they just don't look tidy enough. So I feel good about that and feel as though they will be okay. I hopped into the rear guard while you weren't looking. I had some copper saddle clamps, 20mm, and I suppose 3/4. So I just marked out the centre of the guard, drilled holes, 1/4" bicycle thread, nuts and bolts, and got the guard centred up. Let me bring you around the back of the bike and you can have a look at it from the back. There's no stays on the guards yet, but I feel like with a little bit, and it's all very easy to move around, when the stays are right, the guard will sit really neatly. I don't know whether the copper will have enough strength to hold it, but I think for a start, they look really good. It allows me to visualise stays and allows me to visualise a rear stand and where all that'll go. Right, nice little quiet night in the shed. Get a few jobs done. A few painful ones, you know. Got to make some mudguard brackets that the mudguard stays can attach to. So I'm going to try and shoot all this. I've made one for proof of concept, and yes, it fits in and it's a nice snug fit. So now I'll show you how I made it. So I cut out 8 inches of flat bar. And the flat bar's about, I think it's about 16 by 3mm. It's really easy to handle. So I've got it marked out in 1-inch increments to 8 inches and marked a 4-inch centre. I'm going to cut that and I'm going to take it up to my anvil and bend this curve by hand. So I measured the inside of the guard where this little bow has got to go to hold the stays, and it's just under 3 inches. I'm really lucky. You can see that my the horn on my anvil is 2 and a bit, 2.5, maybe 2 3/4 inches round. So I'm just going to bend that round that and pull it into shape, and I think you'll see that it'll come out pretty good. Now, I got an anvil for $50 and I'm really pleased with it. It was broken, not by me and not fixed by me, and I dragged it home and put it on an old stump I pulled from the old laneway behind the house. So I've got all $50 in this. They are out there, but you don't have to look hard for them. So let me bend this up and I'll show you what it looks like. All right, so I bent it around the wide part of the horn, and then as I wanted to straighten out the bend, I've just pulled it further back down the horn so that it doesn't kink in the middle, and we end up with 2 straight pieces, and it'll slide inside the guard. And then I'll show you what I did from there. This one goes in pretty well, and you know, you can see it's more or less, well, it's touching the bottom of the guard there, and I'm going to hot rivet that in. Now what I need to do is to bend it over to get squares out, like this one. And then we'll be able to drill holes and round the ends off and put the stays through them. Let me grab a marker and I'll just shoot this while I do it. So, all I did was get the marker. All I did was get the marker and mark a line down each side. That's not going to be real straight. It's probably going to be okay. Now I'm going to bend that up. I'll just take the lid of the texture out of my mouth. Now I'm just going to check those marks, and then I'm going to start up my little blowtorch and give them a bit of heat. Haven't tried this before. One hand shooting with the other hand heating. So I have a little, I don't know, home heat kit. It's got oxygen and a fuel. It isn't acetylene, so it doesn't burn as hot, but it certainly burns hot enough for heating up. I'm going to heat this, bend it, and I'll bring you back after I've done all that. There they are. They're bent up pretty well. They're almost identical, which isn't bad considering I cold bent them over a old anvil and then I hot bent these corners. Now, they need a little finessing after you've riveted them in. I riveted them in the last time I did it, and then I just applied a little bit of heat and just, tweaked these arms to get them flat. And then I cut the arms off to the length I wanted. Now here's the little trade flame kit that I use. You can adjust the oxygen and the fuel, and it's not too bad. And then here's the oxygen cylinder and the trade flame, the disposable fuel gas. Now the catch is that the oxygen is quite dear at about $56, and I think these are 20 something. And you go through the oxygen quicker than you go through the fuel. They're disposable, they're not refillable, but I mean, for really low use, they're super. And there's a pair made for the rear guard. Now I've got this one a little bit crisper in the corners than this one. I don't see it as being a big issue. They're tucked up under the guards, and this one will be tucked up under the seat. But nonetheless, they come out pretty well. They cost practically nothing to make. You could just bend them cold, the whole thing. I don't know that you need the heat for that, but it certainly makes it a bit easier. I got the guards mounted. I bought some saddle clamps. They're in copper. They're pretty soft, but they're the right size. I'm hoping they fit. I centered it up in the guard, drilled the holes, and then I've got the guard just loosely sitting in there. When I put the struts on, I'll be able to pull it to the center and get it all squared up. I cut the bottom off the guard just to get a vibe for how it sits. It's not too bad. It's not exactly how I'd like it, but I think it's okay. I started to mark up for where the stays and the rivets will go through. And I'm going to get the guard off the bike this morning and get the holes drilled and get ready for the rivets. And here's the rear guard that I'd already done. Got the saddle clamps on, marked the guard where the rivets are going to go through. And this morning, I'm going to pull the guard off the bike, drill the holes, mark up where the stays that go underneath go, drill them, and then I'm going to lightly sand and etch prime the guards in the tank. I'm pretty content with that. That's the rear guard. I've thoroughly sanded it, wiped it down, prep washed it with wax and grease remover, and then just given it a couple of light coats of etch primer. This is going to keep the rust away. Walk with me across to the garbage bins where the front guard's sitting. I did that first, and now it's just sitting hardening, and it's touch dry. It certainly needs a light sand and perhaps a little fill in places. And then all the brackets. And I hate painting brackets, pain in the butt. I forgot to drill the front ones before I primed the guard, so I'll prime these and then I'll drill them later. They're the little saddle clamps off the front guard and the rear guard, and they'll prime up all right, and they'll be tucked away inside the guard and they'll look good. Just a quick little video of the tank before I throw a bit of primer at it. I've thoroughly sanded it with 120 grit wet and dry, taped off the openings so that we don't get any paint inside, seeing it's nice and cleaned after it lined. Just there's the part number, or the tank number, number 64, still pressed into the, I think it's brass or bronze frame attachment that's on there. I'm going to get some primer on this while the weather's beautiful. I suppose I'm pretty lucky actually with this tank, and the other metalware for that matter. They're in relatively good condition. I'm just trying to fill the edge of the seam at the back and fill the edge of the seam at the front. I'm not great at applying bog, as we call it here in Australia. I tend to put too much on and then have to sand 90% of it off. It's going along at a steady pace. I actually enjoy the sanding. I don't really enjoy waiting for paint to dry and bog to dry, or bondo as Americans call it, or filler, I don't know, bog we call it. I don't really enjoy waiting for things to dry. I've got coat of etch primer on this, as you saw, and then I sanded back the high spots and low spots and applied a layer of filler, and then I've primed over the top of that, sanded it, then primed over it. Now I've sanded it again, and I've gone out to 240 grit now, and I'm just going to stick at 240 grit now for a while, and I'm just going to apply really thin coat of filler. The guards are in really good nick. They're new, they're repoppy sort of things. I am going to just go over them with a little bit of filler, and there's just a little low spot, and you can see them. When you apply the filler, you can see, when you apply the etch primer, you can actually see them. They stick out like dogs, proverbial. So I'm going to crack on with that. Not going to bore you with it too much, but I'm going to make it happen. Well, I hope you got something out of it. I enjoy heating up metal and bending it, and I enjoyed making the mudguard brackets. They've come up really well, and I'm a little bit further down the track than this video. So the guards are starting to look really good. I hope you're having a smashing time. Another episode out tomorrow, as per usual, on a Monday, if I can. And have a great day. Cheers.